I didn't know that thing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. Weasel's not here today, and
Yeah.
also not on the pod because I was telling my co-host today. I made him mad, just in grand fashion, even across international seas. I somehow still managed to have an argument with that man. But anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here to talk about all things Mexican soccer, and joining me, as always, is my counterpart, Adriana Terrazas. I use that on the I use that on the article pod, but I'm gonna use it today. Adriana, how are you?
I'm great. I'm stressed out. I'm just like in this mood where we're not like no one really believes that we've reached the point where we're not qualified by March 28th. And we're just like getting out our calculators when we're used to like looking at CONMEBOL and be like, oh no, that's like really tough. And they're still looking like for 3 tickets out of 4 or something. And no, they're pretty much set. I mean, they only have like the playoff spot like remaining. And then we don't have anything. We have Canada. That's it. So yeah, it's been a stressful couple of days, to be honest.
Adriana out there stressed out in Mexico City, and from San Diego,
Yeah.
Cesar, how are you feeling? Are you also stressed out, or is the
Yeah.
tranquility of living in San Diego just keeping you calm?
Well, I've only been back in San Diego for a couple days now, and I was dealing with a little bit of that frustration over there in Mexico City from that game a few days back against the U.S. men's national team. But I mean, I guess, and we'll dive into it. I feel like like on paper, like I feel okay knowing that Mexico are more than likely, very very likely, going to book their spot in the World Cup. But of course, it hasn't exactly been the best games that we've seen from L3 recently. So I guess we can dive into that and later about how genuinely frustrating it's been. Like it was pretty disappointing. Even like made that trip to Mexico City, went to the Estadio Azteca, blah blah blah. But like that was probably one of the more boring games I've seen from El Trino in a while. And that game against Honduras, that wasn't much better. The second half was a little bit better, but yeah, frustrating time. But it looks like Mexico's going to qualify for the World Cup, so I guess that's good. I don't know.
Well, let's just dive right into it. I hosted. When's the last time I hosted? I don't remember. But anyway, we're just gonna try to go with this. We'll see what happens. But let's just dive right into the first game. We're gonna break it down to two parts. A 0-0 draw against the U.S. men's national team at the Estadio Azteca. Cesar, you were there. You
Yeah.
just mentioned it. Like you said, one of the more boring matches. But I mean, let's just get into it. What give us your other thoughts about the game? Which hold on before we
Yeah.
get now I'm interrupting. Was the better of the two matches that we've seen so far?
I mean, I think just because that second half against Honduras was a little bit of an improvement from that first half against Honduras, I'll say because that the Honduras game was a little bit better. But that's not saying much. In that game against the U.S. men's national team at the Azteca, the crowd, unsurprisingly, even though it looked like around 50,000, it wasn't exactly the most intimidating crowd. You know, the way that L3 play, they generally look second best. And although I wrote a piece recently criticizing the attack, but the defense in that game, if it wasn't for Jorge Sanchez, if it wasn't for Memo Ochoa, the U.S. could have easily have gotten their first World Cup qualifying win there at the Azteca. So it was like I said, it was a very, I mean, just it's the best way to put it. It was a very dull result. It was very boring. It it was incredibly frustrating to watch. And the game against Honduras that followed up didn't make you feel any better. I don't know how Adriana felt, but just it was just it lacked ideas, it lacked creativity, and it was just very very frustrating to watch L3 in their last couple games.
Yeah, I feel there's like the general idea, like a general emotion, I guess, regarding the team is like apathy or something. It's just like
Yeah,
people don't really, they're not really enthusiastic about the team at this point. And you look at the lineup and you're like, that's pretty much the best lineup we could have, just realistically speaking, right? We all everybody will bring in Chicharito and Vela into the conversation, but realistically, that's probably the best lineup we could have at this point. And it just doesn't generate any it's just not a team that will make you really like be a little bit more optimistic about what's to come. So I think you start seeing that with the crowd, and despite the fact that all the tickets were sold out, it wasn't a state like Azteca wasn't sold out entirely. There were only like 50,000 tickets available. I think in part due to fear because of all these threats that people would actually start yelling the chant, which they did at the end. And just to make sure they could control the crowd and have the new fan ID procedures and all that stuff to get into the stadium. But yeah, generally when you speak to people down here, they're just like, yeah, we'll make it to the World Cup, but it's not that excitement. Even if we were like really struggling, which we are a bit more than we thought at this point, usually people would be kind of like nervous, excited, and just looking forward to the next game. And right now it's like, yeah, we want to go to the World Cup, but we're not really convinced from what we've been seeing like for months now, and to be honest. So yeah, it's going to take a long time and something really big to change how people are feeling regarding like the national team in general. I mean, I see way more excitement when it comes to the U20 team, to the women's team. So it's just something is missing. We've talked about lack of leadership in the team. We don't have that really strong leader in the team. We don't have someone that has that really strong personality as well, that's willing to talk to the media and say difficult things when necessary. And yeah, obviously you're not getting the goals from the three players that should be scoring goals. Yeah. And you're not seeing spectacular appearances from other players when you usually are seeing them with their teams, right? Like Hector Herrera, we saw him grow enormously like the last couple of weeks with Atletico de Madrid, and now not seeing that same Hector Herrera with the national team, obviously Raúl Jiménez. And so it's all like this entire combination of factors which we haven't seen before, and it just makes people not feel as excited or as supportive with the team as they probably should be.
Yeah, and when you look at the roster too, when you look at that 11, you expect them to be playing at a much, much higher level. And what's so frustrating about that front line is that once again, on paper, that is an incredibly frightening front line with world-class players. But the chemistry has really been lacking there from L3. I think the thing that I kept thinking about was from there's a Football Ramble podcast called On the Continent, and then they were talking. I think they were talking about PSG's front line, and then the hosts. And I'm not comparing L3's front line to PSG's front line, but in this example, they were talking about how, like champagne's delicious, steak is delicious, like chocolate's delicious. But if you all mix it together, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to create this delicious meal. And I keep thinking about that with this front line. Maybe there's something here where individually these three players are fantastic world-class players, but maybe there's something there chemistry wise that's just not working, and I do wonder if perhaps this next game, maybe you'll see a Santi Jiménez given a chance, maybe you'll see a Diego Lainez given a chance, and is Santi Jiménez better than Raúl Jiménez? Is Diego Lainez better than Tecatito or Chucky? No, but maybe they can complement other members of the attack and other members of the midfield a little bit better. So it was, like I said, the word that I'm just going to continue to use throughout the podcast is frustrating. And it was frustrating to see that front line just not click, not work. I mean, what is it? I wrote it down, but the Tridente, as we've all been calling them, they've combined for 4 goals and 3 assists in the octagonal. Jonathan David over in Canada, he has 5 goals and 3 assists by himself. Christian Pulisic has 5 goals by himself. And when you look at those numbers and you see what Tridente is doing, that's not acceptable. And it's not even just the Tridente either. The other players that have stepped in, whether, when you look at the midfield, like Charlie Rodriguez in the last game, really, really struggled. When you look at someone off the bench in previous games, like Rogelio Funes Mori, obviously has really, really struggled. So it's incredibly underwhelming, and I don't know, something has to change. I'm not saying you get Tata out and it'll solve everything, but something needs to change with the team's mentality, with the tactics, with motivating the squad. I don't know. I can't imagine Mexico making much progress if things continue this way.
My joke after the game was the U.S. game was that Tridente is a spork at this point. Like there's like no actual terror on it, but it's an interesting like conversation point to kind of bounce off of, because I mean he didn't change if I'm if that's correct, right? The lineup didn't change.
Yeah, that's the same. Yeah.
Game. So
somehow he was convinced by that performance to keep it going.
I guess the discussion point I'm trying to make right now is looking at the lineup when you're going into the U.S. game, right? So this is after what was experienced during the wintertime before the new year. You go into this game, you see Johan starting, you see again the Tridente. I don't think anybody saw this lineup and was like, what is he doing? Right? Like there was a level of like, okay, I can see the rationale behind this. No? Like, I mean, what would you have changed from this lineup going against the US, who also many rumored was going to go with a B team or maybe a C team, because they were going to focus on that game against Panama. And they also come out, quote unquote, no pun intended, guns blazing. So it was like you went into this game and you saw this lineup and you were like, okay, let's see what happens. No? And then
I mean that's close. You look at it and you're like, yeah, that's pretty much the best we got,
Yeah, so, essentially. Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could change like some players. I mean, you could argue, like usually for defense, I think is where we have more players fighting for a position just because they've been irregular, not necessarily because they've all been as good, but just because we've seen so many combinations. You've seen Montes and Moreno, you've seen Arteaga sometimes. Finally, Johan Vasquez getting an opportunity, which I think was more just because of, I don't know, pressure on social media at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think probably defense is where you could see more just changes come their way depending on, I don't know, that the style or just players that are not away due to injury or stuff like that. I mean, but you look at midfield and offense, and yeah, I mean, those are the players that should be in the starting lineup. Just like reaching this point where we're actually fighting for a ticket in the last game. I mean, I really wouldn't mind if you switch things around for the game against El Salvador. I think that you have to. I think that's your responsibility. These players aren't fulfilling the responsibility of getting goals. And if you're seeing another player come on, just what's the worst that could happen? You're not getting the goals either way, So I really, like, with all due respect to El Salvador, I don't think they're going to score goals that easily either. So yeah, go ahead with Vega, go ahead with Lightness, and try to switch things around. You're not, you already gave these players 2 games in a row, and they really didn't perform nearly as well as we all would have hoped. So yeah, just play some of the players on the bench. I really don't think people are going to criticize you more than they're criticizing you now if you do that.
Yeah, and I agree. And also, like, it's important to remember that Ache, he's suspended.
He's out, yeah.
Yeah, he's suspended for this upcoming game. I know the FMF tweeted out that Ache has been like dropped from the camp. Everyone's like, oh yeah, it's about to. It's like, well, it's because he got a yellow card accumulation, and like that's the reason why he's not available. So obviously that opens up an opportunity for Eric Gutierrez. Like Adriana was saying, I think why not try Diego Lainez? I mean, I'm thinking too, why not try Santi Jimenez? Something that I've been curious about too is just maybe you put Julian Araujo as a right back, and then you move Jorge Sanchez over at left back. But like Adriana said, I think when you consider that how difficult the last 2 games were, when you consider that Tata has used the same starting 11, I'd be pretty for 2 games in a row. I'd be pretty surprised if we didn't see some changes, especially since Mexico, they could potentially qualify for the World Cup even with a loss. Not say that they would get a loss, because that'd be an incredible Aztecaso. I mean, think about all the Aztecasos that have happened. That would be an incredible one against.
Yeah, that would be like a mother of Aztecasos.
Yeah, that would be an incredible one. But Mexico could go through with a draw. That they'll probably they could easily get a win here with some backup. So why not change things up? Why not take a little bit of a chance here? And I really do hope, and I anticipate that we'll see some changes. I don't know if it's going to be significant changes, but I think probably at the very least 2 to 3 within the starting 11.
And I've heard lots of people also calling out on not switching the entire formation. He plays like a 4-3-3, and why not switch it around and try 2 strikers and just kind of move things around a bit, because they're definitely not working again. We've seen this time and time again. So, I mean, why not? Why not try to switch things around? I mean, most of these players, I don't know, see what they're used to with their clubs, and I don't even ask them. I don't even know if the communication is that good with him and the players, where they could actually come forward and say, hey, I'm not comfortable in this position or with this role. How about we switch things up a bit? Because as you can see, they're not working as well as we all hoped. So I don't know. Yeah, we obviously have that change with Ache, which will definitely make something different. But I don't know. I look at the strikers and the attack in general, and just something's really amiss. So I really hope maybe Linus could be a good idea. And yeah, you could just bring on Tecatito for the second half or something. But definitely you need something to switch things up a bit. And we also heard Chucky mention in an interview with us, it really is like the Azteca is really taking a toll on the players that are coming in from Europe. So maybe even take that into consideration. Like these players really aren't having a really great time adjusting to the altitude, just as we took advantage of that for years with all sorts of rivals. So maybe just also consider that, hey, which of you guys are up to starting at the Azteca? I know you're not comfortable. I know that, the altitude, which was something that we really benefited from before, is now taking a toll on the team. Just maybe even consider that when you think about the starting lineup.
I mean, the thing about him changing the system is you go back to when Raul was injured, and it was like he desperately, and I think desperately is an appropriate word here, needed like Funes Mori because, quote unquote, he was the only player that would fit into the system. Like that's how much and it's really weird with Tata because, and I've been thinking about this a lot, like with JCO, there was a lot of jokes and a lot of things that happened around, but you had to almost like respect his madness, right? Because he truly his system. And I mean, apples to oranges, we had already qualified at this point 4 years ago, right? So like you want to give, I guess, Tata the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you wanted to do that like in November or something, being like, I just don't understand what your system is. But it's like seeing them, like you said, Cesar, watching them in that game against the US, Tecatito just missing one so terribly that, the offense just failing to properly like move forward, attack forward, and against Honduras, it was probably even worse. I think I texted you at some point, Cesar, going like, this is pathetic. Like I cannot believe nobody's pushing forward these plays. That I thought about that. Like at least JCO, he was like, he was a mad scientist, but it worked. Like I can't imagine Tata being satisfied with this. And I think that's the part that irks a lot of people, right? Even the casual fans or anybody that's just like, are you really happy with what's happening, the product that you're putting on the field?
I think what's probably most like frustrating, even for those fans of Tata Martino, like even his staunchest defenders, I can't imagine they're feeling. I can't imagine they're.
Does he have any defenders at this point?
That's a good point. I would say like anybody who has the slightest bit of confidence in him, it's probably gone by now. And I think if you believe the reports from John Sutcliffe over ESPN Mexico, he's reporting that there's going to be an owners vote to decide whether Tata should go forward with El Tri. And there are reports potentially Piojo as a backup option. Once again, that's those are just reports, it's just rumors, but it says a lot about the lack of confidence with Tata because it's like I said, something needs to change with El Tri. Is it actually Tata dropping his role and it's someone else stepping in? I'm not entirely sure, but with each passing game, it seems it's easier to believe that, I guess you could say that with each passing game, it doesn't seem as ridiculous to think, well, maybe there should be someone else leading the charge for El Tri. But I also think it's something that's really, really important to keep in mind too, though, is that, it's not out of the ordinary for Mexico to have a really tough qualifying run and then to do okay at the World Cup. And I think most importantly, with qualifying, it's rarely does Mexico look the same way in qualifying as they do in the World Cup. Like if we're looking since 2000, like I wrote about this, but Mexico's only finished at the top of CONCACAF's final round of qualifiers once in 5 appearances, and in those 5 appearances, they've always gone through to the next stage, past the group stage. I know
right? 2000 to the. It was Saudi.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was actually 2018. But every other time, Mexico's had some pretty serious issues. I think it's nothing out of the ordinary, and I think that's something really. And I think that's why you hear players say often that what matters is getting the 3 points, regardless of how ugly the result is. But what's tough is that the recent results have been very ugly. They've been.
Wait. Quick question that I just actually no, I've been thinking about this for a while, but I didn't know at what point in the podcast I was going to bring this up. So 2014, just absolute madness, right? You go into the repechaje match, you bring on Piojo, in a
And,
way,
and America dressed in a green jersey.
And America dressed in a green jersey. You basically, right? In a sense, that is your your rejuvenating moment, right? Tata comes. I mean, Tata Piojo comes in. Repechaje. They solidly qualify. You know, you're looking at a new era, literally before you get to the World Cup. Tata's here. That's how we'll get into this a little bit. But assuming everything goes Mexico's way, they will directly qualify to the World Cup this time around without a repechaje. Do you feel worse than in 2014? And that was a repechaje.
24. I guess it's technically 2013. 2013 was brutal.
2013.
It's going to take a lot to feel as bad as I did.
We were actually
that was
eliminated at some point, like until Sanssouci came along.
No, but I'm saying the feeling of them already qualifying for the World Cup, right? So they've already beat New Zealand at that point. Do you feel better in that moment than you do right now, them directly qualifying?
You're saying, okay, so right now, ahead of the last game, which technically should be pushing Mexico through, how do I feel in comparison to after Piojo and Mexico won the repechaje spot?
Yeah, so qualifying, like just
I was more excited then.
Well, that's what I mean. So
that's crazy, but yeah, it's true.
Did you feel better at that, even though it was a repechaje game, qualifying than you do right now?
There was a playing, there was a style, there was like enthusiasm. The team actually generated like a feeling from us, despite doing terribly. Like it was just like a bunch of like really terrible decisions. I mean, you had Chepo, you had the Aztecaso, you had Vucetich come on and then go off again, and it was just like one terrible decision after the next. And you did have a really terrible streak of I think we had like 5 games where we didn't score a goal or something. So it was terrible. But after winning repechaje against New Zealand, I definitely thought better about the team than I do now. I think so, yeah. I mean, and that was like terrible circumstances, but still, I mean, yeah, somehow this generation, I mean, again, it's like apathy. It's like I don't feel anything.
Yeah, I think it's very different feelings though, because I felt better after that, but that for me was more incredible relief than anything else, because it did generally look like Mexico wasn't going to qualify for the World Cup. And after everything that like went down in 2013, even with Piojo stepping in this new system, bringing in different players, there's still part of me in that game going up against New Zealand at repechaje. I was thinking he might not be able to pull it off. Like the Mexico might stumble again after all the stuff that went down in 2013. So I think it was more relief. And now, apathy is a good way of putting it, because Mexico should be doing much, much, much better. So I think it's more apathy now. Yeah.
And I guess that's the point of me asking the question, was because you're saying like they're notoriously known for having like bad qualifiers, and then they'll go and show up, right? Show up and show out, like in the World Cup sense. I feel like this is the first time, like since I actually started really following the team, you know, in all the years that I've covered that, like it's almost ironic, right? Because it was like, yeah, it was nervous. You couldn't believe that they were nearly not going to qualify back in 2014, which was one of the most, dismal qualifying cycles that we've ever experienced. Yet once they did qualify, and everybody was there, celebrating, wearing their shirts and everything, you were like, okay, something good is going to happen. I have to believe that something good is going to happen because Piojo's here now, because they did go and dominate against New Zealand. And that was a repechaje game that I'm thinking right now, okay, Costa Rica has to win like 10-0 for, for something to
technically 6-0, I think is
only 6.
At that point, what's the difference? Yeah.
Something not to go Mexico's way, but in all cases, it should probably be fine. Like, what has to happen Wednesday for me to have that feeling of like, nah, Mexico's going to go back to the World Cup and do what they should do on the international stage. Because if they go out and beat El Salvador with like 1-0, 2-0, and it's not, it's still kind of the same ness they've been giving us this entire time. Do we even get, I've been joking about like, I'm just going to go to Qatar to like have vacation kind of thing. But it's also really like we felt more excited after that repechaje game than we would right now in directly qualifying.
Yeah, no, I think what matters the most is just earning that spot for the World Cup. I think that's just what matters. I think that's what matters most. Yeah, like I said, it's not Am I excited about it? No. Am I excited about all three right now? No. Am I going to readjust my feelings about Tata even more? And if it's another narrow win or an ugly result or a draw or potentially a loss, yeah, I might have, then I'll probably question him even more. But I don't know. There's an opportunity here on Wednesday. There's an opportunity here for Tata to redeem himself and to show that he can not only give opportunities to different players, but that those players can step up too, and that he's capable of motivating them. And if he can't do that, then yeah, maybe it's not ridiculous to consider a plan B. And I think that even though Mexico looks like they're about to qualify for the World Cup, I still think that there's a lot on the line here for Tata Martino. And I don't think it'd be ridiculous if he were potentially dropped after Wednesday.
And if you look at it, it's not. I mean, I remember that we were having this conversation, like comparing ourselves to the U.S. and saying, "Hey, the U.S. is bringing on younger players and they're switching it around and they're still getting results and everything." I mean, we have the same number of points. And somehow we're the ones that are criticizing more the Mexican team. So it's definitely a performance issue. It's a style, and it's apathy is like the best word, to be honest. So they're not generating something. I mean, it's not only the goals from the Tridente, but in general, you're not seeing a team that's getting you excited like in previous occasions. If it were like just only a results issue, we wouldn't even be tied with the U.S. And we are. And you look at it, you're like if it comes down to getting results, we're getting the same results. I mean, some goals more, like scoring a little more or less goals, etc. But it comes down to that, and it's also this feeling. I think. I mean, first of all, I've spoken to lots of people, and we're all really like pessimistic about how many points. If we do make it to the World Cup, the conversation is now not even the quinto partido. Is it? Are we going to make it past like the group stage? Like honestly, this same team, disregarding who we could face. Do you really think we're going to make it past the group stage? And everyone, or most of the people I've spoken with, are like saying, like, definitely no. I mean, we have tons of time to make it like really have great friendlies and great preparation and bring in players and make sure they avoid injuries. I mean, it could change from here to the World Cup. But if we're looking at the same team that we saw against the U.S., against Honduras, you're looking at it and you're like, damn, it's like we're taking one step backwards. I really don't like, and I don't even know who we're facing in the group stage yet, you know?
Hey, if they're in pot one, though, then maybe.
Pot one. I guess you're like, all best scenarios possible, and still we're being pessimistic. And then the other thing is, I mean, I think lots of people are frustrated, one, because they're not switching the lineup around, and they're not switching the call-ups either, because you're seeing all these players, and I mean, he didn't call up Funes Mori this time, which was just, I mean, there was no evidence that pointed out that he should have been on the team. You've got some other players not available due to injury and everything, but I look at it and I'm like, I really dislike the fact that we're not seeing younger players being called up, and I really don't think it's not because they're really stepping up. I do think you're starting to see some players, you know, like Santi Jimenez starting to be like they should be getting more minutes, you know. I just look at it and I'm like, I'm really frustrated because disregarding how we do in the World Cup and this idea that we're not going to make it past the group stage, it really sucks to be like thinking about 2023 and starting to think that we're going to have a really forced like generational change in the team, where we could have it probably now and still benefit from some of the younger players start like step it up, you know, like give you a couple of really good minutes, maybe give you some like couple of good games, you know. And we're just sticking it to what Tata knows. And I understand he wants to keep like this circle of players he knows and trusts, and doesn't want to bring in someone that he doesn't know or how he could perform, or maybe just bring in some talk to the team that it won't benefit them. But on the other hand, I'm like, dude, really? Like when he called up the goalkeepers, I was like, how are you calling up 4 goalkeepers and one of them is not Acevedo? I know he's not going to start. I know if you take him to the World Cup, he's not going to start any single game. I know that. But just the fact of not even considering bringing in younger players so you could start that process of making that change in the team, like not even considering that for 4 goalkeepers, that really sucks. You know, it just makes me feel like, dude, we're going to start off next year, and disregarding the fact that we don't even have to qualify for the next World Cup, it just gives you this really terrible scenario where like you're not thinking about an entire process. You're not thinking of the national team, not only for a World Cup year, but just like as an entire process. You're always thinking like, oh, it's that he's probably going to leave after a World Cup and we're going to start all over again, you know? And that really sucks. I think that also adds to this general feeling regarding the team.
Well, of all the crap that we've talked about with Tata, one of the things I think there was a stat that came out is that Mexico does be getting them away wins. I think this came out from, now I can't remember the source. This is so bad of me. But yeah, Mexico is, our stupid logo gets in the way. Mexico's at the top with the most away wins, which is interesting in the CONCACAF in the region. So
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got the most away wins, but we got some terrible losses as well.
I mean, we beat us twice, away.
Yeah. You got some really painful defeats as well.
But that's why, a quick reminder for qualifying for the World Cup. That's why, so in order for Mexico to get a direct spot for World Cup, they just need a win or a draw against El Salvador on Wednesday, thanks to some of those away results. They can also earn a direct spot with a loss if Costa Rica lose or draw against the United States. Yeah. If Mexico lose and Costa Rica win, that's when things get a little tricky with goal differential, because Mexico has a goal differential of +7, Costa Rica are +3. So, for example, if Mexico lose 2-0 to El Salvador and Costa Rica defeat the U.S. 3-0, then Mexico would get pushed down to 4th place for the repechaje, the playoff spot. And then if Mexico lose and Costa Rica win and they tie in goal differential, then Mexico go through on goals scored tiebreaker. But I tweet this out. Long story short, basically, Mexico at the very least have that repechaje spot guaranteed, but it looks like they're very likely to earn that direct spot and qualify on Wednesday. And all they need is a win or a draw against El Salvador, which shouldn't be that should be very simple for them. But they've been such a letdown recently. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
But it's amazing that we're thinking about how well we did as an away team, when you're supposed to your strength, your 12th player is the Azteca, and you couldn't win Costa Rica, you couldn't beat Canada, you couldn't beat Canada at the Azteca, you couldn't beat the U.S. either. So,
well, to be fair, Canada are pretty good. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I
know. But Costa Rica though, I think Mexico only had like one shot on target in that game. It was really, really bad. Yeah.
And those games, you didn't even have like fans in the stands for those games. We were punished.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I have no idea what's going to happen on Wednesday. I really hope people behave. But like district, you could be as angry and as frustrated as we all are at this point. But really, to go out and just do the chant at the stadium or to threaten even like to do so, it's just that really sucks. That just shows that we're not like we're so great. Like, we're really great as fans. Yeah, like if you remember Russia 2018 and all the Mexican fans and the way that we would like yell the national anthem at the stadium. Yeah. And the way just anywhere the team goes, you'll always have Mexico fans. Like, if you compare that to how we've been behaving at the Azteca, that's like really like it's I don't know, it's embarrassing at this point. I mean, I understand we're all frustrated because that's what we've been doing for the last half an hour. But yeah, just to go there and do that at the stadium with the chant, it's just like, dude, like you can boo them if you want. You can yell things at them.
Didn't the farewell match in 2018 end with a boo because they tied?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like the track record is
yeah.
But when I was at the Azteca, like at first, like you didn't really hear the chant against the U.S., but then little by little,
at the end it was so obvious.
It was obvious, but then you had the PA announcer who just like was just doing his very best, was just like, "Hey, Mexico!" It's like, and like, "Ooh, I'm here," but like even though he did that, you heard some hard P sounds and like T sounds, like, I don't know.
They were like bringing in people into the booth. Please yell at the same time.
Yeah, that's like when Ollie, Jack, and my two nephews are here at the house at the same time, and I'm just trying to get them all. You're gonna get noised out very, very quickly. And I know there was a lot of like think pieces not think pieces, but there are a lot of takes when it came to the U.S. and Mexico and all that stuff happening during the game. But a valid point, which you guys kind of alluded to, is the Azteca is not intimidating and not an advantage to it's a toxic environment, and the longer the result isn't favorable, the more tight and desperate the team plays. I think a notable point that actually made the rounds a lot was Landon Donovan said that it was an entirely different atmosphere than when he used to play World Cup qualifiers. I think those games were played in the morning or in the middle of the day when it was the hottest, and the altitude was definitely in your favor.
Yeah,
all that stuff. So which I thought was an interesting take kind of thing, because in a way, all stadiums in all places are catering to a different demographic now. So it's not like every place is as intimidating as it used to be. I mean, the U.S. in their way their only real intimidation factor is that they go everywhere that's like subarctic temperatures, like
that's the other thing. I mean, we really like looking into like 2026 because obviously this is not going to happen anytime soon. They should really start considering other stadiums. I mean, I love the fact that the Azteca is the home and everything. Yeah. You really have to take them somewhere else. I mean, fans there are like really, really passionate about El Tri, and I think you could grow tired of the Azteca in the sense that people just, I don't know, you kind of take it for granted because they're going to play here all the home games. I mean, I can't imagine what would happen like at the Universitario with the national team. They're just so passionate. They're real. I think they would really appreciate the fact if they brought like the team there for an official game. Obviously in Guadalajara, you have great stadiums. I mean, why not take them there? I mean, it doesn't really have to be that big of a stadium. We're not filling the stadiums up like either way. You only had like half of the Azteca available. So I don't know. Why not take them to Monterrey, to either of the stadiums? Why not take them to Guadalajara? I don't know.
But I honestly, I think I'm tempted to say almost any other Liga MX stadium would be
pretty much. Yeah.
Any other, I mean, you might find like some small examples, but honestly, any other Liga MX stadium, and I think that the atmosphere would be much, much better than what we've been seeing at the Azteca recently.
I think it would be more beneficial, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. Or like even just like it doesn't even have to like we used to was talking
if you wanted to, yeah,
or like we used to was talk about how the FMF likes being close to Mexico City, blah, blah, blah. But, there's installations over in Toluca. Why not play in Toluca? I think that would also be a fantastic.
Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah.
Why not do that like on a Sunday or not just
like
Sunday, but just exactly. Yeah. So I think I would like to see some different venues there being considered going forward. But either way, I mean, it was for that game against the US. I mean, I wrote about it, but like really it feels like a disappointing end to an era at the Azteca. Just it just, like I said, the crowd wasn't very good. Mexico didn't play very well. There could have been something there about like Tata and Mexico getting their vengeance back against the US, but it was just it was quite dull.
And it is the end of an era. We're not going to have like any more US Mexico games as we've known them for years.
It's be very different. Yeah,
qualified for the next World Cup, which means that whatever we play, it won't really have that intensity.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if we do play some kind of qualifiers like Qatar did, and they kind of had to play for like the Asian Cup or stuff like that. And then the following World Cup, there's still going to be 48 teams. So I'm pretty sure it's not. We're going to struggle maybe, but not as much. So it's not going to be the same. So it's really sad if you think about it that we had to say like goodbye to like this sort of qualifiers with a game that ended up with a 0-0 against the US, with fans not being really passionate about it. When you've attended other games against Brazil, against the US, against any other CONCACAF country, I mean, it's amazing to go there. You really want to go there, and you want to scream, like you scream the national anthem, and it's so amazing, and people yelling, and you have like the cornetas, which are some like the similar thing, like just like bubucelas, just as annoying at some point, but really great for atmosphere. And you kind of said away, like you said goodbye to the qualifiers with something like like the worst image possible, I guess. So hopefully it will change somehow for 2026 as well, and we'll have something that will bring people back to the Azteca and just be like as passionate as I think we all can be for the national team.
You ended the era with apparently YMCA and Billy Joel songs, according to Landon Donovan's quote. Is that what you're obsessed with? They weren't playing the hits, they weren't playing the bangers.
It was weird. Yeah, it was definitely some Billy Joel, definitely some YMCA. It was like. It was a very strange playlist that was not exactly.
It's like when like
what was the most random song you heard, Cesar?
I know that's not what was on my mind at that point. I was trying to build this narrative, just like
Send the story.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, Mexico's gonna come back. I was like, perfect. They're gonna get this win. It's gonna be huge. Oh my god, yeah. But I do remember them playing YMCA.
That's the sort of thing that happens like at weddings when they want guests to leave, or they'll just like get them like really hyped up, and then they'll start like turning on the lights and then putting like really cheesy music, and it's like, time to go.
Oh man, they kicked us out real quick, by the way. At the as soon as like the press conference was over, like security's like, all right, you got to get out. I was like, all right, well, I don't have enough time to file this. It's gonna be like a 40-minute like ride back to the hotel. So like had to like file something really quickly. But anywho, no one cares about me complaining about getting kicked out early from the press box. I
have one good news for the team. We just had a story after a report by Gibran that the green jersey is coming back for the World Cup. So
That was kind of expected, though, right? We kind of knew the green
Yeah.
jersey was coming back. We knew it.
Well, I mean, we've been sticking to the black one for a while now, so I was like, oh my god, I really hope they bring it back because I'm missing it at this point. I really love the black one, to be honest. I love like the South Africa one is probably my top 3 favorite jerseys for Mexico. But yeah, it was getting to a point where like, damn, I really wanted like a green jersey. I'd like a red jersey as well, but when we've had like red, it's been everything except red. It's like tones
Orange.
of red-ish,
Orange.
orange-ish. I want like a real like blood red jersey at some point. Well, like a Mexican flag jersey. It's not the same as like blood red would be more like Spain, so it's not like the same. Okay, like Mexican flag red. Yeah. So
RC,
and it's also gonna have like green socks as well.
RC286 says not only did they play YMCA, they had a video with the mascot inciting people to dance.
That's right. I do remember that actually.
I think the mascot's name is Keen. Keen?
Yeah.
I think it's Keen. Yeah, something like that.
Clearly, I should have been paying attention more to the mascot, to the playlist. I know why I was like a fool taking all these notes about what I was expecting from the game. And I should have been like, all right, they played YMCA, then they also did this.
We're worried about the soccer on the field. How dare you, Cesar? Follow-up question: if DJ Archaeologist was in charge of the playlist at the
Whoa, okay.
what would be some bangers that would be immediately played at the start of
It's like we'd start with a little bit of like punk, then some hip hop, then some cumbia, a little bit of soul music, a little bit of like
end up with the Macarena.
some some ska punk. That's what DJ Archaeologist would do. A little bit of a mixture of all that. Yeah.
Well, now we know. All right, bringing this up one more time. This is how congrats to Canada. First off, we've been burying the lead. We can say this now because we
well deserved. Well deserved.
We can say this.
I'm really excited for them. I'm really like pushing for them. Like, yeah, I'm really eager to see what they can do in the World Cup. To be honest, I'm really happy they made it through.
It's a nice story. It's definitely, and like it's well deserved. And it's not like it'd be one thing if they were like sitting back and they were playing like unattractive soccer and like forcing like narrow 1-0 wins, but no, they're playing
really well. Yeah,
it's very attractive, attack-minded, fantastic soccer that's led by this really exciting generation of players. And yeah, no, shout out to Canada. I'm also eager to see how they do.
Years later, they're back in a World Cup. Last time they did, Argentina won.
Yeah,
just putting out that out there. Yeah.
At Fiesta, right? Yeah.
I was just kidding. Wiso is also happy for the Canadians, I'm sure. So on behalf of Wiso, he's also very happy for you guys. He'd like for all of us to just get along. So the U.S. is in second place with 25 points, tied with Mexico, who's in third with 25 points. Costa Rica in fourth place right now with 22 points. Like Cesar had mentioned, Costa Rica basically has to beat the U.S. 22-0 in order to take away
6-0. Isn't it weird? I mean, it's not going to happen, but isn't it weird to think that Mexico on paper could still finish in first?
I think the U.S. is pushing for that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they're really going to go for it. And they definitely could, to be honest. Like at this point.
Oh, that's right. So they would have to beat Costa Rica 5-0?
4, right? Because it's only 4 goal differential with Canada.
It would depend on how badly.
Well, they have 2 goals against. So wait, no, I'm reading this wrong. I'm dumb.
Canada would need to lose, and it'd have to be like lose by a significant margin. But it is still mathematically possible for USA or Mexico to finish in first. It's probably not going to happen, but yeah, still potential.
All right, guys, we're closing in on the end of this podcast. So let's go ahead and talk about predictions. I'm not going to give one because I never do, but predictions for Wednesday's game. Cesar, we start with you.
Man, I really do hope that they're going to be motivated for this one. And I say that they're going to get a 3-0 win.
Adriana?
I think they'll have a 2-0 win.
Is that answer that you just gave?
Me or Adriana?
No, both of you. So Cesar, you said 3-0. Adriana, you said 2-0. We're talking about how we don't feel that great qualifying this way, just collectively.
Yeah.
Is that the scoreline that'll make you feel better once they have their ticket punched for Qatar?
No.
No.
3-0, 3-0. A little bit. I'm not gonna be like, all right, everything's fixed, we're good. I'm not gonna feel that way. But
Oh, okay. So then my follow-up question is, what will? Cesar, we'll start with you. What will magically make? Well, not magically, but like realistically, what will make things better this final game going into?
Realistically, it's gonna take more than one game. I know that's not the answer. I know that's probably not the answer you want, but realistically, it's gonna take much more than just a home game against an El Salvador side that already are out of the running for the World Cup. So for me to actually feel better, it's gonna have to be a good result here, and at least at least 2 to 3 more good results through friendlies against decent opposition. So I think that's what'll make me feel good. But it's a little bit of work there.
What about a 3? Okay, I'll get to you in a second, Adriana. I just want to find an answer.
15. All right, 15 to nothing.
Okay, let's go with your 3-0 victory, right? Like that's one component that'll make you feel better.
Right. That'll be a step in the right direction.
It'll be a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
The lineup changing, will that be another step in the right direction?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if the lineup changes, and if they lose, then that would definitely bum me out. But if the lineup, I guess what you're asking me is what would make me feel happy from this result. So what would make me feel happy is if we were to see,
for what's worth, one game's not going to change your guys' game completely. But what, like in a realistic scenario, like let's say, I don't know, Raul takes on and actually scores a solo goal or something, like an individual performance for a player plus the 3-0,
like a Maradonian goal.
It's members of the Tridente doing well, and also some alternates stepping up and doing well, like a Diego Lainez, like a Santi Jimenez, and with a convincing result. That wouldn't make me feel like, all right, we're gonna get to the quinto partido, but it'd make me feel like, all right, this is a step in the right direction. That's okay. That's how I feel. Yeah.
Adriana, 2-0, so that's less than Cesar. You wouldn't be satisfied with that. So what would get you to be satisfied at the end of this game?
Okay, it would have to be. Some decent changes in the lineup could be good. Then probably 3-0 with El Tridente, each one scoring one of those goals, and then each one assisting one of those goals as well. Now, you know what would be really cool? If people started chanting for the team. Because that's
not going to happen, though, right? There's no way. That's true.
You had a chance to talk, Cesar.
Sorry.
Turn.
I'm going to mute myself.
I'm going to auto-censor myself. No. Okay. Realistically, if people were chanting for the team, that would mean A, they're winning, B, they're playing really well, and C, I mean, people are really happy with what they're seeing. So that would mean that we're like forgetting how terrible the terrible performances we've had previously. It would be a different, you would feel different about the team because of all those things. Probably you would have a team that's exciting, that's probably effective, that's performing well, that's just living up to the expectation of getting a World Cup ticket at the Azteca. So I think if people at some point were chanting Mexico, Mexico, or something like that, like something along those lines, I think that would pretty much mean that the game is doing as well as we would all want it to do, and just erasing the image we have of the team so far. So that would have to happen. It could be a 1-0, and they could still difficult because you usually want more goals for these games, but if you were playing so well that you would get people excited in the stands, I think that would be the best key indicator that something you're doing really well. You're satisfying what people are expecting from you.
Yeah. Mexico needs a Rudy moment. This is what Adriana is saying.
Yeah.
We need to warm the hearts and minds of people all across the nation.
Yeah.
Watching
you
need in the stands.
Who's Mexico's Rudy? Who
is
it Diego? Would it be Diego Lainez? There's something of a little bit of
could be
Diego Lainez. Yeah.
Yeah, you need maybe Santi Jimenez kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like this question.
I'm really expecting like the Mi Selección Twitter accounts or something to come up with a really inspirational video on Wednesday. I don't know, have the U17 World Cup final with all those younger players coming in, and he had the Momia Gomez with his head all with bandages, and then just getting all those goals and getting people excited. I don't know.
And then we lose and we go to fourth, and then we lose.
And then we play against New Zealand again. Which, by the way, have you guys seen like the Confederation? Like I think they didn't even have to play games. It was just something so terrible. Did you see that? Like Solomon Islands didn't even have to play, and then Tahiti didn't do it. It was just like the worst circumstance possible, and somehow they have a final. I think it's like, yeah, right. It's like Solomon Islands versus New Zealand.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of it's like one or two teams dropped out. They had to reschedule things. It was confused. I haven't followed up since the last week or so.
Yeah,
but I saw that
like anti-football or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. People say that the getting fired will get Mexico fans excited.
So is that what the FMF does? And Misa Eleccion, they tweet out, it's just like they actually tweet out hashtag like fuera like tata, and then like
okay, wait, that's a good question. You get the ticket. Let's imagine Mexico wins 2-0. You get the World Cup ticket. Do you still fire tata if you
that was gonna be my follow-up question, because Cesar, you just talked about
sounds easy, but what other than Piojo, which is probably the most possible coach you could get. It's like, I don't know, it's like a coin toss, because on one hand you're like, okay, we're gonna get people at least excited that there's change, on the other hand, what if you don't get Piojo for some weird reason? What if he's not interested? What if you just can't break Diga's contracts? I don't know.
My counter argument is, what if you bring him on and it doesn't work? I would rather, a part of me is I would just rather, yes, and this brings the high possibility that you don't come out of the group stage in a sense with what you're working with that. Yeah. But at least at this point, it's almost too late. You just gotta suck it up and just push with the system that you've brought on. But I know, because remember last episode we said if they lose in the Azteca against the US, fire him. They didn't lose, they drew. Now, it was an ugly draw. They had plenty of chances to be able to, well, not too many. The U.S.
The U.S. had more chances. Yeah,
if it wasn't for what's his name that looked like me during Monday League Co-ed, they almost would have won the game. So it's so they didn't lose, right? And then they got a super disgustingly ugly win in Honduras. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to fire him in a sense.
Yeah, there really isn't. Yeah, that's true.
I think if he gets a draw, if there's a draw, if he loses, yeah, I could see that definitely happening.
If he loses, even if we do get the ticket somehow, later on, I do think,
maybe a draw. I can see potentially a draw, but I think as long as he gets a win,
I think as long as he gets the ticket on Wednesday, that's
and avoids a loss.
And avoids a loss, yeah.
But it's like Adriana said, even if they win. And how we mentioned at the in the middle of this pod, we're not feeling great. We felt even if it's a direct qualification and it's not a repechaje, there was a glimmer of hope that was stronger after that repechaje round victory and qualification than we're feeling right now, and that we'll likely feel. Are we gonna? Like I said, I'm probably in the boat of just stick with it. Which sucks, because then there's a part of me that's accepting the fact that this is the system we're playing with. These are the players we're playing with, pending a few alternatives that he might feel, that suddenly has awakening. He's like, it's why I'm going to bring in young players kind of thing. But, I don't see this team even collectively, whether that is the issue or not. I don't see this team being for sure we're rooting for past I don't see that either in the team. So I'm accepting.
I really they need some sort of former players committee, bring them along. I don't know, somehow change mentality in the team. I have no idea. But
just even when players talk, they're like, "Oh, that's them. This is us now." There's nothing.
You need Cuauhtémoc Blanco to come in and speak whatever. They're afraid to say it to the players at some point. I don't know. I think
call up Rafa Marquez. Call up Rafa Marquez. You're like, okay, so you're not playing. We're gonna register you though. We're gonna register you. You're not gonna get a single minute. Okay, maybe you'll get a minute. Depends on how well else is doing. But you won't get any minutes. You'll get called up. You'll be on the plane, but you'll be hanging out.
I don't know. You need Cuau, definitely. You need to bring in the Pavels. I don't know, Matador. I mean,
Hey,
most of them were at the stadium against the U.S. anyway.
hey, if Tata likes the old goalkeepers, why don't bring in Campos? Why not? Right?
Yeah,
Just
you need someone like you just bring them in, like on a weekly basis and have like a chit chat or something. And I have no
yeah,
idea. Yeah, you need something like that, and you need someone to really step up from the team. I mean, again, we've spoken about this. You need like a stronger
yeah,
leadership position. Not that we don't have it, but it's not what you need right now. You don't need a Guardado, you don't need an Ochoa, you need a Cuau, a Pavel, maybe a
yeah.
Rafa. That sort of attitude, like to I don't know, bring in like some sort of change in the team because it's like when they speak, it's like everything's like nice and yeah, we talked about it like they're doing like halftime and we know you have to improve. You just need someone to like really like trash talk and just I don't know like really really wake them up.
There's a very vocal player. I'm not saying that he is a Rafa Marquez, Cuau kind of player, but there is a very vocal player who just happens to be Mexico's all-time leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
Who's in Los Angeles. There just happens to be there is an outspoken player who wouldn't be afraid to,
Okay, but
to say like some truths in the locker room. Yeah.
But my counter argument is that he's not a Quell. He's not a Rafa.
Oh, no, I said he's not a Quell. He's not a Quell. He's not. But like
go in there and have that level of like, let's go, guys. Like,
but I think he'd be a good rally. I don't know.
I like the dude. He's scoring goals when he needs to for my local club team and everything. But like, there are times when I listen to Chicharito talk, and I'm like, all right, relax. Like,
but I'm saying like that. If we're looking for someone a little bit more vocal, a little bit more, I don't know, animated, yeah. I guess you could say that they could potentially be him. I don't know, but obviously it's not gonna be him because he hasn't played since 2019, and yeah.
Yeah, RC286 said, with Tata, you have no connection between players. His tactics and substitutions are below par. Bringing someone else might have a motivation boost, which is certainly a plus from what we have now. So
who's at fault with the Chicharito situation? Who do you guys think should like be the first one to just take a step forward and try to end that division?
I think that comes with that generational shift that you were talking about.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem as though anyone is at fault. It almost seems like Chicharito, with the way speculation has been, it's more like
that seems like it's more of a behind the scenes situation. Just like
behind the scenes that he almost brought upon himself. So it's like you can't really blame anybody except Chicharito.
It's like him and the FMF just need to have a talk and be like, just have a good serious sit down and
imagine like the expectation, like, okay, we're going to World Cup and all that stuff, and then somehow like in August we get these friendlies and they're like, we did it, we spoke with him, we're on good terms. Yeah, it's going to be a messy couple of weeks because we know everyone's going to ask about it, but we're done. He's here, he's performing well, we're calling him up. Imagine how excited people would be.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that would
change people's expectations entirely.
Yeah,
that would be, and this is coming from the same fans that we were kind of like sick of him, like with like what we would post on social media and like mock himself, and then like I know people were tired of that. Just imagine how amazing it would be for the team. Like people would be, I'm pretty sure you would forget how we did in qualifiers if you did that.
There's always one or two weird call-ups with L3. Sometimes an unexpected kind of like older player will step into the World Cup. Sometimes it'll be some young player who's kind of like hitting their form right before the tournament. I'm not saying it's going to be Chicharito, but he hasn't closed his door yet on the team. And if stuff is resolved behind the scenes, then maybe it's possible. I still think it's very unlikely, but who knows what can happen over the next several months. And someone saying bring in Marcelo Flores. Right now he's out of the picture, but you know what? Let's say he goes on loan somewhere this summer. Let's say he starts getting some first division minutes for a top European side ahead of the World Cup. I think if you're looking at dark horses, if you're looking at someone who could potentially sneak in there at the last minute, I think Marcelo Flores. I'm not saying he's good. I'm not saying that he's on the plane. Right now, he's not on the plane.
Yeah, right now he's not on the plane. Yeah.
But I think there is a chance there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. That's another player I could get like really excited, like people, like fans really excited. I don't know. Like on one hand, I'm like, oh dear God, maybe not. Like just don't burn him up yet, because we're used to doing that, and when it usually doesn't go well.
But if he goes on loan somewhere like this summer, and if he gets some good minutes, yeah.
Depends. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I'd like to see lots of changes. Like I don't know, something really different. Someone coming in and I don't know, get Hugo Sanchez on board. And yeah, we know he's great with like pep talks and the motivational side of the teams. I don't know, get him on board. Get I don't know, somehow borrow Cuauhtemoc from his like governor duties and bring him in as well. I don't know. I'm pretty sure people will vote for him even more if he does that. So don't worry about it.
Although Hugo Sanchez, he's gonna get the call from FMF and he's like, "Oh, I got the job." And I'm like, "Well, actually, Hugo, you don't have the job."
Head coach.
You'd be like, "No, I'm not interested."
Yeah, I don't know. I really hope something comes along and changes like how we feel right now.
Yeah.
We're just hitting the hour mark really quickly. Cesar Adriana, we were talking about this before we started recording. Portugal has a lot to do with what could potentially happen on Wednesday if Mexico secures their ticket to the World Cup.
Yeah, so if Portugal lose to North Macedonia tomorrow,
and
if the Netherlands get a draw or loss to Germany tomorrow, then if Mexico win on Wednesday against El Salvador, then they'll be in pot 1 for the World Cup draw this Friday. You need a couple things to work in your advantage there, especially North Macedonia beating Portugal. I think the Netherlands-Germany result is that could potentially happen, but North Macedonia beating Portugal, that would be a tough one. But if that happens, then Mexico could be in pot 1. It's a small chance, but there is a chance. There is a chance.
And imagine, I mean, first of all, Macedonia would have to win, which they already eliminated Italy, so they're not like the world's like best friends at this point. To be honest, I really don't know anyone who would like wanted Macedonia to make it through.
Yeah.
Even if like Italy would face Portugal, and then we would still be disappointed disregarding who won. But imagine if they did make it through. We don't have Portugal. Like, you don't have Cristiano Ronaldo, because I don't really think people are really worried about Portugal as much as they are about Cristiano Ronaldo, because tentative, like possibly his last World Cup. You don't have Italy either for the second time in a row, which really sucks. It's like one of those teams that you really expect to have like in the World Cup, and then you have your Panini album and you have Italy on it and stuff like that. And then, but you have Mexico in pot 1.
And imagine after everything that happened. And imagine Mexico gets an ugly 1-0 win against El Salvador.
Yeah.
But then North Macedonia wins.
And
Netherlands get a draw or loss. And then they're in pot 1 after all this. After everything that we've said to complain about.
The most pessimistic situation for the Mexican national team, but you get pot 1.
Tata Martino is the coach. They got them.
I would be so bizarre. First of all, I don't really mind. Okay, the pot 1 situation sounds really great and everything, but I like after not seeing Italy, which is like my favorite European team in the World Cups, and not seeing them for the second World Cup in a row, being European champions, that really sucks. But then also not being able to see Cristiano Ronaldo in his potentially last World Cup, that would be even worse. So,
and I'm okay. I'm okay with him missing out.
I am
really. And after what Messi said, where he like kind of gave way to saying it could be his last World Cup as well. Oh man.
Somebody said still firing Tata even with
Oh no, I don't know. It's just like, it's gonna be a really weird World Cup, and then Amy, you're gonna be up like around like 2 a.m. to see these games. I mean,
we'll see. I think that's it for all of us. Speaking of the World Cup draw, if you guys haven't seen Wiso's Twitter, and this is my way of formally apologizing to him in public, because I just don't usually say sorry. So this is my way of promoting him in a form of apology. He's already in Qatar right now for the Qatar, as you told me the locals say it over there in English. So he's already in Qatar, and he will actually be at the World Cup draw later on at the end of this week.
I'm gonna turn on the TV. Wisa's gonna be up there. Be like, all right. doing like the bilingual thing, like
he's standing next to a former FIFA legend, like just. So if you guys don't already, go ahead and follow him at Wiso Vasquez on Twitter and at Wiz Vasquez on Instagram. I don't like that username; it bothers me, but whatever. But Adriana, any last thoughts to close out the episode?
Oh man, I just hope that we're surprised somehow in a good way on Wednesday. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty much as good as we can hope for.
Let's have Diego Lainez have his Rudy moment on Wednesday. Just win
Yeah.
the hearts and minds of the people of
Yeah.
Mexico and all across the world. Oh, such
All
a
across the world? That's
all
cool.
across the world, everywhere. So,
Everyone's rooting for us. That's cool.
yes, they will be at this point. All right, guys, I think that's it. I'm gonna close it out. So yeah, enjoy yourselves. Have a good rest of your Monday, and hopefully Wednesday is another good day for all of us.
Mhm.
What did we still say? Hasta la próxima. Yeah, sure. Okay, goodbye.